during the month of November 2022, the ministers gave out 50% of their salaries to the National Solidarity Fund.
A leader who cuts his own salary, raises civil servants' pay by 50%, and reduces politicians' wages. Could this redefine governance in Africa? President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso is sparking global attention with a bold decision, increasing civil servants' salaries by 50% while slashing pay for MPs and ministers. This move aims to tackle inequality and prioritize public service. But is it genuine? Let's explore the details behind this unprecedented policy shift. Chapter 1. Background on Ibrahim Traoré. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's interim president since September 2022, emerged as a leader following a coup against Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba. Born in 1988 in Bondokwi, Traoré graduated from the George Namoano Military Academy and served as a peacekeeper in Mali. His leadership is marked by a focus on anti-corruption, transparency, and national sovereignty. Traoré formed the alliance of Sahel states with Niger and Mali, distancing Burkina Faso from Western influence and rejecting IMF and World Bank loans. Often compared to Thomas Sankara, he advocates for self-reliance and economic independence. However, his administration faces challenges, including political instability, security threats, and economic hardships. Traoré's policies aim to address these issues while prioritizing public welfare and equitable governance. Chapter 2. Current economic situation in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso's economy, heavily reliant on agriculture and services, rebounded to a 3.6% growth rate in 2023. However, inflation is projected to rise to 2.2% in 2025 due to higher food prices. The budget deficit narrowed to 6.9% of GDP in 2023, supported by increased tax revenues. Even with these improvements, the country grapples with security issues and a humanitarian crisis, with poverty rising to 43.2% in 2021. President Traoré's reforms include industrialization projects and the establishment of a gold refinery to reduce reliance on foreign companies. These efforts aim to boost economic independence and create jobs. However, persistent challenges, including terrorism and climate change, continue to hinder progress, making economic recovery a complex task. Chapter 3. Alleged salary changes for civil servants. Reports from March 2025 claim President Traoré approved a 50% salary increase for civil servants, a move aimed at improving living standards and public sector efficiency. If implemented, this would mark a significant shift in government priorities, emphasizing equitable wealth distribution. Earlier reports focused on Traoré's rejection of a presidential salary increase and his commitment to fiscal discipline, but the alleged boost for civil servants aligns with his broader anti-corruption and public welfare agenda. However, the lack of official confirmation raises questions about the policy's implementation and its impact on the national budget. This decision, if true, could strengthen public trust and address long-standing grievances among civil servants. Chapter 4. Reported salary cuts for politicians. President Traoré reportedly slashed salaries of MPs and ministers by 30%, a move aimed at addressing economic imbalances and promoting financial fairness. This follows a 2015 decision where Burkina Faso's MPs voluntarily halved their salaries. Wait a second. Do you think these salary increases for civil servants and students will truly address the root causes of inequality in Burkina Faso? Comment below. The current cuts are part of Traoré's broader anti-corruption efforts, which include enforcing asset declarations for officials and threatening prosecution for non-compliance. These measures aim to restore public trust and reduce government excesses. By prioritizing public welfare over political privileges, Traoré reinforces his image as a reformist leader committed to transparency and accountability. Chapter 5. Traoré's stance on presidential salary. President Traoré has consistently rejected a salary increase, choosing to retain his earnings as a military captain. His disclosed low net worth underscores his commitment to modesty and public service. Traoré has also banned government officials from conducting business with the state, reinforcing his focus on transparency and accountability. This approach contrasts sharply with past leaders, positioning Traoré as a leader who prioritizes national welfare over personal gain. His refusal to enrich himself aligns with his broader anti-corruption agenda, which includes measures to curb government excesses and promote equitable governance. Traoré's stance on his salary reinforces his image as a reformist leader dedicated to serving the people of Burkina Faso. Chapter 6. Reasons behind the proposed changes. The Burkina Faso government's decision to boost civil servant salaries and increase student loans stems from growing unrest over the high cost of living and education. The country has faced violent protests, particularly from students disputing university accommodation issues. These measures aim to provide an adequate response to the concerns of different groups and placate the mounting discontent. The government's actions reflect an attempt to address economic pressures on citizens, especially civil servants and students who have been vocal about their struggles. By lowering taxes for civil servants and increasing student financial support, the administration hopes to alleviate some of the financial burdens faced by these groups and potentially reduce social tensions that have been building up in recent years. Chapter 7. Public reaction to the announcements. The public response to the government's announcements has been mixed. While some have applauded the new measures as a step in the right direction, others argue that they are insufficient to address the underlying issues. The 5% increase in civil servant salaries and the $50 boost in monthly student loans have been received with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Some citizens view these changes as a positive gesture from the government, acknowledging the effort to address their concerns. However, a significant portion of the population believes that these measures fall short of addressing the root causes of the economic hardships they face. The reaction highlights the complex challenges the government faces in satisfying diverse groups within the population and managing expectations amidst ongoing economic difficulties. I have a question for you. How should the government ensure these reforms don't lead to long-term financial strain on the economy? Share your perspective with us. Chapter 8. Impact on government budget. The implementation of these salary increases and student loan boosts will undoubtedly have a significant impact on Burkina Faso's government budget. While specific figures are not provided, the 5% increase in civil servant salaries through tax reductions and the additional $50 per month for student loans will result in increased expenditure for the state. This comes at a time when the country is already facing economic challenges, potentially putting further strain on public finances. The government will need to carefully manage its resources to ensure that these new commitments do not lead to an unsustainable budget deficit. It may require reallocating funds from other areas or seeking additional revenue sources to offset the increased spending on salaries and student support. Chapter 9. Comparison with other African nations. While the search results don't provide direct comparisons with other African nations, Burkina Faso's situation reflects broader trends across the continent. Many African countries face similar challenges of economic instability, high living costs, and student unrest. The approach of increasing civil servant salaries and student support is not unique to Burkina Faso, as other nations have implemented similar measures to address social and economic pressures. However, the specific context of Burkina Faso, including its landlocked status and political history, may set it apart from some of its neighbors. The country's efforts to manage unrest through economic incentives can be seen as part of a wider pattern of African governments attempting to balance fiscal constraints with the need to respond to public demands for improved living standards and educational support. Chapter 10. Challenges in implementing such reforms. Implementing these reforms presents several challenges for the Burkina Faso government. Firstly, ensuring the financial sustainability of these measures in the long term will be crucial, given the country's economic constraints. There's also the challenge of managing expectations, as these changes may not fully satisfy all segments of society. The government must navigate the political implications of these reforms, particularly in a context where the president has been in power since 1987, potentially leading to questions about the timing and motivation behind these changes. Additionally, the effective distribution of increased student loans and the implementation of tax changes for civil servants will require robust administrative systems. Lastly, these reforms must be balanced against other pressing needs in the country, such as addressing security concerns and promoting overall economic development, which may compete for limited government resources. Chapter 11: Potential Economic Effects. The recent salary increases for civil servants and student loan boosts in Burkina Faso could have significant economic implications. On one hand, these measures may stimulate consumer spending, as civil servants and students gain more disposable income. Hold on a second. Could misinformation about these changes risk undermining public trust in the government's efforts? Share your thoughts with us. This could positively impact local businesses and contribute to short-term economic growth. However, the additional financial burden on the government might lead to a budget deficit, especially if tax revenues or external funding do not offset the increased spending. Furthermore, these changes could create inflationary pressures, raising the cost of goods and services. The government must carefully balance these reforms with broader economic priorities, such as addressing poverty and unemployment. If managed effectively, these measures could improve social stability and public trust in governance, but mismanagement might exacerbate financial challenges in an already fragile economy. Chapter 12: Addressing Corruption and Inequality. The government's reforms aim to tackle inequality by redistributing resources towards civil servants and students, two groups often overlooked in policymaking. By lowering taxes for civil servants and increasing student loans, the administration seeks to address economic disparities that contribute to social unrest. These measures also align with broader efforts to combat corruption, as they prioritize public welfare over political privileges. However, addressing systemic corruption requires more than financial adjustments. It demands robust enforcement of laws, transparency in governance, and accountability for officials. The government's ability to implement these changes without favoritism or misuse of funds will be critical in ensuring their success. If effectively executed, these reforms could serve as a model for reducing inequality and fostering trust between citizens and the state. Chapter 13: Fact-checking the claims. While reports suggest Burkina Faso is increasing civil servant salaries by 5% and boosting student loans by $50 per month, verifying the accuracy of these claims is essential. Government statements confirm these measures were introduced to address growing unrest over living costs and education expenses. However, details on implementation remain unclear, raising questions about whether these changes are fully operational or merely promises to placate public dissatisfaction. Independent verification from reliable sources is necessary to ensure transparency and prevent misinformation. Additionally, understanding how these reforms align with broader fiscal policies will help assess their feasibility. Fact-checking also involves scrutinizing whether the government has adequately communicated its plans to stakeholders, avoiding potential misinterpretations that could fuel further unrest. Chapter 14: Media Coverage and Misinformation. Media coverage of Burkina Faso's reforms has highlighted the government's response to public unrest, but has also raised concerns about misinformation. While some outlets emphasize the positive aspects of salary increases and student loan boosts, others question their practicality and long-term impact on the economy. Social media platforms have amplified conflicting narratives, with some posts exaggerating or misrepresenting the scope of these changes. This highlights the need for accurate reporting and responsible communication from both journalists and government officials. Misinformation can undermine public trust in reforms and exacerbate tensions among affected groups. Ensuring that media outlets provide balanced coverage based on verified information is crucial for fostering informed public discourse. Chapter 15: Future Implications for Burkina Faso's Governance. The recent reforms could have profound implications for Burkina Faso's governance model. By prioritizing civil servants and students, the government signals a shift toward addressing grassroots concerns rather than focusing solely on elite interests. This approach may strengthen public trust in leadership, but also sets high expectations for future policymaking. If successful, these measures could pave the way for more inclusive governance that emphasizes equity and transparency. However, failure to deliver on promises or manage fiscal challenges effectively could lead to increased criticism of leadership decisions. These reforms also highlight the importance of balancing immediate social needs with long-term economic sustainability, a challenge that will shape Burkina Faso's political landscape in years to come. What's your take on the future of governance in Burkina Faso after these reforms? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and share your perspective with us. President Traoré's decision to boost civil servants' pay while reducing politicians' salaries has ignited both praise and skepticism. Whether this marks a turning point for governance or raises questions about its feasibility, it's a story worth watching. What do you think of this bold move? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates. Thanks for watching.